Told my sister not to have a baby while broke, she ignored me. Now she wants rent money and my whole family's turned against me. A couple of days ago, I told my sister and her husband I wasn't going to give them money, and now pretty much my entire family is mad at me. Honestly, I still don't get what I did wrong, so that's why I'm laying this all out. The reason I chose not to help them financially is simple. I warned them not to do something, they went ahead and did it anyway, and now they expect me to bail them out? That doesn't sit right with me. My sister and her husband have been together for about 8 years. They're both 23 now, and they tied the knot a year ago. Neither one of them had any interest in going to college, and their only real life plan was to get married after they found jobs. Eventually, they both got hired by the same company as accountants, got engaged, and not long after, got married. Now, I've never really criticized her choices, but whenever she brought stuff up to me, I always encouraged her to save money. Both of them had this flashy, impulsive lifestyle, constantly going out to restaurants, partying, and blowing cash on expensive clothes and stuff they really couldn't afford. They liked living big even if it meant spending way more than they made. And if that's what made them happy, fine. I gave my 2 cents, but at the end of the day, I couldn't force them to listen. Thing is, from what I've seen in life, people who live that way eventually hit a wall. I figured that when that moment came, I wouldn't be the one picking up the pieces, especially after warning her more than once. Then came the baby talk. She casually mentioned she wanted to get pregnant, and I immediately thought, that's a risky move. They were still young, and from what I could tell, didn't have much saved. I told her multiple times to really think it through. But she brushed it off, saying she had it all figured out. She admitted they were tight on money at the moment, but she was confident she'd save enough by the time the baby came. She even told me she was bored with her current life and believed having a baby would make her feel fulfilled. Since she was young and healthy, she felt like this was the perfect time. So she did it. She actively tried to get pregnant and eventually succeeded. Even when she first told me about her plans to have a baby, I voiced my concerns again. They were already financially stretched. My parents told me she'd been borrowing a lot of money from them, especially since her husband didn't get along with his own family. They were worried, and so was I. That's why I felt the need, as her older brother, to warn her again. Which brings me to now. After I said no to helping her with rent, my parents cut me off. They won't even talk to me. And that's confusing as hell. When my sister and her husband first announced they were expecting, I congratulated them genuinely. I figured maybe they were finally going to buckle down and start planning for the future. But no. Even during the early months of her pregnancy, they kept spending recklessly. I kept trying to nudge her, save some money, you're going to need it, but she got super sensitive about it. She told me not to worry and insisted she had a plan. That was my cue to back off. From then on, I kept the conversation light and avoided giving her any more advice. Then the inevitable happened. Just like I feared, they hit that wall. They ran out of money for rent. My sister could have asked our parents again, but she'd already borrowed so much that this time they finally said no. They're retired and just couldn't keep dishing out cash like that. She owes them a lot already. So she came to me. She stopped by a few days ago and told me that since her baby was born 2 months ago, every penny she had was going toward taking care of him. She claimed she barely spent anything on herself and couldn't understand why they were struggling with rent. I was stunned she didn't see the problem. It seemed obvious to me they'd never prioritized saving and kept spending like their finances didn't matter. No matter how many times I warned her, she ignored me and continued living how she pleased. Now they had no one left to lean on. She asked me to cover rent just for this month, promising to pay me back soon. But I said no. I already knew she was deep in debt to our parents, and realistically, there was no way she'd be able to repay me anytime soon. I told her I couldn't afford to make this a habit, because I knew exactly how this would go. I'd be her next bank account. Sure, my parents could help her from time to time since they'd built up their retirement funds, but I'm only 26. I've been saving up to start my own business in the next few months, and I can't afford to throw that away. Besides, I warned her. Over and over. And now that her lifestyle finally came back to bite her, I didn't feel guilty saying no. I told her she needed to find another solution because relying on me wasn't going to work. Of course, that led to a massive argument. She lost it. Called me selfish, a cheapskate, even accused me of being jealous that she was living better than me on a smaller paycheck. Then she hit below the belt, saying that the reason I'm still single is because I don't know how to live in the moment and only think about myself. Honestly, I expected a meltdown. I knew she wouldn't take it well. But just because I saw it coming didn't mean I was going to let her walk all over me. So I fired back. We went at it for 15 minutes before I told her to leave. After she stormed out, I blocked her number so she couldn't call or text anymore. She didn't, but my parents did. Later that night, they called, and I genuinely thought they were going to back me up, maybe even tell me they talked some sense into her. But instead, they yelled at me. They told me I was heartless for how I treated her. And that's where we're at now. They told me that the least I could have done was help my sister out, and honestly, that felt like such a slap in the face. These were the same people who had asked me not long ago to talk to her about her spending and encourage her to be more responsible. Now suddenly I was the villain for not handing her money? I reminded them that I'd always warned her about spending like there was no tomorrow. I even told her she shouldn't try for a baby right now because they were clearly struggling financially. But she ignored all of it. Every single word. And to me, that said everything. It meant she didn't value what I had to say. So why should I feel obligated to hand over the money I've worked hard to save? If this were a situation where she'd genuinely fallen on hard times despite doing her best to be smart with her choices, I might have thought about helping. But that's not what this is. She put herself in this position with full awareness, and now she's dealing with the consequences. I didn't feel like I was being unfair at all. Still, instead of trying to understand where I was coming from, my parents doubled down. They acted shocked that I would let my sister go through something tough without stepping in to fix it. That really hurt. I was already drained from the argument I had with her earlier that day, and now I was getting ganged up on again. So I told them straight I didn't have time or energy for this nonsense. If they wanted to turn me into the bad guy just because I wouldn't enable her, that was their choice. But I wasn't going to change my mind, and I wasn't giving her a cent. Then I hung up on them mid-sentence and turned off my phone for the night. The next morning, I didn't expect any kind of apology, but I also didn't expect the harassment to keep coming. When I turned my phone back on, my sister still hadn't messaged or called. But my parents? They'd left me a text saying they were disgusted with how cold-hearted I was. They said I had two choices: help my sister and apologize for being cruel, or they would cut me off from the family entirely. I read that message 2 or 3 times, trying to convince myself they didn't mean it. But no, they were dead serious. I ended up calling them to talk it out, hoping maybe they just worded things poorly. But they were totally firm. If I didn't send her money and apologize, they said they'd never speak to me again. That broke me. I actually cried, something I hadn't done in a while, but it wasn't sadness. It was anger. Angry tears. I felt like they were playing favorites and punishing me for standing up for myself. I told them that if cutting me off made them feel better, then so be it. At least I'd still have my self-respect, knowing I didn't cave and betray what I believed in. They tried to spin it on me, claiming I was choosing some principle over family. But come on, this wasn't about some rigid moral stance. They were being totally unreasonable. And I still feel that way now. A few days have passed since that phone call. I blocked my sister, and now my parents have blocked me in return. So we haven't spoken. And in all this silence, I've been stuck replaying everything, trying to figure out who's really at fault here. Personally, I still believe this is all on my sister. She made the bed she's lying in, and my parents are enabling her by acting like she's entitled to my help. They know I've been saving up to start a business, and still, they act like I should throw all that away just because she had a baby. And to make things worse, I've noticed a bunch of our extended family members either unfollowed or blocked me online. It's like the story's already gone around, and I've been painted as the villain. I won't lie, it's been really lonely. I don't have a big circle of friends since I tend to keep to myself, and even though I wasn't constantly in touch with my family, I always had the comfort of knowing I could call them. That's gone now. And it's left me feeling kind of numb, just hollow and alone. So lately I've been asking myself, did I make the wrong call? Should I have just helped her, even if it meant going against everything I stood for? At least then I'd still have my family around. It's not like my sister and I had a bad relationship before all this. We used to talk regularly on the phone, meet up a couple times a month, and honestly, we got along great. She was a kind person most of the time, and we were really close. The only real tension between us was her reckless spending. That was our only issue. Besides that, we were tight. Same with my parents. It's not like they've always favored her or made me feel less than. We were raised pretty equally, and things felt balanced growing up. That's probably why this whole situation hurts so much. Maybe it's because she just had a baby and everyone's walking on eggshells around her. I don't know. Maybe they thought I'd go easy on her just because she's a new mom. But that's what I think pushed everyone over the edge, my refusal to play nice. So now I'm left here wondering, am I the jerk for telling my sister I wouldn't cover her rent, even though her money problems are 100% her own doing? Update. Hey, just wanted to address something real quick. I know some folks took issue with the tone of my post. If I came off arrogant or harsh, that honestly wasn't the intention. I was frustrated and overwhelmed when I wrote all of this, and I think that came through more than I meant it to. Some people said I sounded like one of those "I told you so" types, and maybe I did. Maybe I am. But I'd been so exhausted by all this family drama, I didn't really have it in me to sugarcoat my words. That said, a lot of people have told me that I was still in the right to say no. At the end of the day, it's my money. I'm not obligated to bail her out, especially not when she created the mess herself. If her situation had been different, if she had fallen into financial trouble for a valid reason, maybe I would have helped. But not this time. So I guess I'll just keep missing my family for now. I don't expect an apology anytime soon, and I'm pretty sure they shared their version of events with every relative we have. That would explain why no one's talking to me. And yeah, that sucks. Even though I wasn't close to most of them, it still stings knowing that everyone's ganging up on me for something I genuinely don't think I did wrong. Right now, I'm the scapegoat. But eventually, the truth will come out, and when it does, they'll have no one left to turn on but each other. My parents are finding it easy to defend her right now, but that won't last forever. Right now, my sister's anger is aimed entirely at me because I refuse to help her. But based on what I know about her, it's only a matter of time before she turns on our parents too. Eventually, she'll demand money from them since I wouldn't give her any, and one way or another, she's going to have to find a way to pay rent. If she can't, things won't end well for her. Once it sinks in that even our parents, who are currently defending her, aren't willing to keep handing over cash, the situation is going to get messy. I'm absolutely sure of it. And when that drama starts to unfold, I'll just be sitting back, watching with popcorn in hand. Update 2. So, something unexpected happened recently. One of my cousins reached out to me. He told me what my parents and sister had been saying behind my back, and honestly, it was worse than I imagined. I'd assumed they were just telling people the story about me refusing to help with rent, and that alone had probably been enough to turn the family against me. But apparently, they went a step further and twisted the facts to make me look like some kind of heartless villain. I don't get why they'd go that far. It's not like destroying my reputation is going to benefit them. I don't even have close ties with most of our extended family, so it's not like I'm competing for attention or affection. Thankfully, my cousin had the decency to talk to me directly. He'd heard a version of events from his mom that didn't sound like me at all, and he couldn't believe it until he heard my side. If he hadn't reached out, I might never have had the chance to clear things up. Everyone else just took their word for it and ran with it. What they told people was this: that I had actually encouraged my sister to start a family, and even promised I'd support her financially whenever she needed help. Total fiction. In reality, I'd spent countless conversations trying to convince her not to rush into having a baby. I warned her it wasn't the right time, especially given their finances. So when she came asking for help with rent, it wasn't some betrayal on my part. It was just me holding the same line I'd always had. But according to them, I'd done a complete 180 and broken a promise I never made. That's why she's supposedly heartbroken, because I let her down. And if that lie wasn't bad enough, they added another layer. Apparently, I had borrowed money from her while she was pregnant. They claimed I said I needed it to pay off some personal debts, and that she suspected it was either due to alcohol abuse or gambling. She even said that despite being pregnant and needing the money herself, she handed it over to me out of kindness, and now I was being ungrateful. For the record, I've never borrowed money from her. Ever. And while I'm not some saint, I'm definitely not a drunk or a gambler. Sure, I'll have a drink at a party now and then, but I hate hangovers and always keep it in check. And I've never gambled in my life. The fact that she would stoop so low as to accuse me of that kind of stuff? That's just plain cruel. Oh, and to top it all off, she's also been telling people that I'm just jealous of her. Jealous of her lifestyle, jealous of her relationship, jealous of her success. That's apparently why I wouldn't help her. She says I'm bitter because I live alone, haven't had a serious girlfriend in a while, don't go out much, and don't have many friends. And you know what? A lot of people believed her. My cousin told me that most of the relatives who unfollowed or blocked me online did it out of loyalty to her. She gets along with everyone else in the family, and from what I hear, they've been mocking me behind my back for years. I just never knew how deep it ran. At least before, I had my sister sticking up for me when people said stuff. But now, she's right there laughing along with them. Most of them think I'm a massive loser, and honestly, I think they were just waiting for a reason to cut me off. This gave them one. If this had happened back when I was a teenager, it might have torn me apart. But today? I really don't care. It says way more about who they are than it does about me. I chose this lifestyle for myself. People can judge it all they want, but I've always done what felt right for me, not what earned their approval. They might think I'm wasting my life. They might think I'm unmotivated or pathetic. But I know exactly what I'm working toward, and I'm not going to change just to impress a bunch of people who've never understood me anyway. The few friends I do have?
they matter a lot to me. And I know I matter to them.
We don't need constant validation or daily calls to know our friendship is strong. And as for dating, I'm not rushing into anything.
I've been on a few dates here and there, but right now I'm good on my own.
I've got goals, I've got direction, and that's more than most of my critics can say, most of whom are still leaning on their parents for everything.
I guess that's why they're so quick to hate on me.
They see someone whose content being independent, and it makes them feel insecure.
Mocking me is their way of coping. I just didn't expect my sister to be one of them. But now I know better than to expect anything from family.
After everything I've learned, I don't feel guilty at all for refusing to help her.
In fact, I'm glad I said no. She doesn't deserve my help. And honestly, I hope my parents stay out of my life, too.
I'm also super grateful to my cousin for filling me in.
Seems like he might be the only sane one left in this circus of a family.
Update 3. I wasn't expecting my last update to blow up like it did, but I'm really touched by how many people connected with my story.
It's been a rough couple of weeks, but I'm hanging in there.
It's been almost 15 days since I last spoke to my sister or my parents. I haven't reached out, and they haven't tried to contact me. But something weird happened last night, which I'll get to in a bit.
At first, I'll admit, the silence was deafening. I felt super alone.
But a few days ago, I hung out with my friends, and it really lifted my spirits. I told them everything that had happened, and they were supportive as hell.
They told me I was better off without all that toxicity, and honestly,
they're right. The sadness is starting to fade, and over the past couple of days, I've actually started to feel lighter,
more free.
And I made one final move. I blocked every single member of my family from all my social media accounts.
No more guilt.
No more watching them tear me down online.
I'm done. I went ahead and blocked their phone numbers too.
Not that I think any of them will try to contact me, but it gave me a sense of closure that I really needed. Honestly, I feel relieved having cut them all off, not just online, but out of my life completely.
They've just kept sinking lower and lower, and I've had enough.
Then last night, something weird happened. I had just gotten home from work and was about to go get cleaned up when I heard the doorbell. I went to check, but there was nobody there. Still, I opened the door out of instinct, and that's when I saw it, a small bag sitting on the porch. It felt light when I picked it up, and when I looked inside, I was stunned. It was filled with the baby shower gifts I had given my sister, some clothes, a few toys, and a couple of baby books.
No note, no explanation, just dumped there like garbage.
I stood there for a moment, not sure how to react.
At first, I was angry. I mean, who does that?
But then the anger faded, and I just felt sad.
It was so petty, so unnecessary. I couldn't believe she'd stoop to this level. And honestly, I doubt she did it without our parents knowing.
Knowing them, they probably gave her the thumbs up. It broke my heart more than it made me mad. Because those gifts weren't for her, they were for my nephew. A baby who has no idea about all this stupid drama.
He didn't ask for any of this.
He's just caught in the middle of a mess he didn't create. I couldn't bring myself to throw it all out. So I shoved the bag into a corner of my closet where I wouldn't have to look at it.
Because despite everything, those things were meant for him.
And tossing them would have felt wrong. I just hope she doesn't pull any more stunts like that, because at this point, it's getting hard to even respect them as people, let alone as family.
Update 4. It's been about a month since that happened.
And I hate to say it, but things unfolded exactly the way I knew they would. With me out of the picture and no longer taking the blame, my sister turned on our parents. From what I've heard, thanks to my cousin, they had some kind of major falling out.
Now they're bad-mouthing each other.
My sister, in her usual dramatic fashion, has been telling everyone that our parents are just as heartless as I am because they've stopped helping her financially too. Meanwhile, my parents are claiming they raised both of us to be spoiled and ungrateful brats.
Apparently, that's their explanation for everything now. Honestly? It doesn't bother me. Let them throw each other under the bus.
At least I've set the record straight with my cousin, and he passed the truth along to his mom. A couple of relatives even reached out to apologize, but it didn't mean much to me. I wasn't looking for apologies.
I just didn't want to let lies about me stand without pushing back. Now, I'm done. Done with all of them. And in a strange way, I'm actually grateful for that final fight.
It showed me exactly who they really are. I don't mean to sound smug, but
I did see it coming. I knew this would happen.
It's not about saying, I told you so, but man, it's almost funny how predictable they turned out to be.
Anyway, on a much brighter note, I've finally saved up enough money, and I've decided to transition into working from home.
That way, I can put more time and energy into building my business, talking to potential investors, and hopefully launching soon.
So yeah, wish me luck, folks.
Here's to starting fresh, building something real, and leaving the drama behind for good.